Imagine the desert night, shattered by a roar unlike any other. 1,000 guns spoke, a symphony of fury. Steel titans clashed, their metal groaning under an impossible strain. Courage met desperation in that inferno. Beneath the din, individual battles were fought, a silent promise to hold, to push, to survive. Yet, this was not the end. It was the beginning of a turning tide born from impossible odds. But how does one begin to even dream of victory when facing such overwhelming, crushing numbers? Imagine a force, perhaps 60,000 strong, pitted against a giant 3 times its size. The sheer weight of that imbalance, it presses down, stealing breath, whispering doubts into every soul. Their backs were against the very wall of existence, with nowhere left to retreat, nowhere to run. A choice loomed: yield to despair, or find a strength deeper than any desert well. This was a desperate gamble, a throw of the dice against fate itself. In 1942 North Africa, it took a unique kind of courage to even consider, to plan, to believe in such a defiant stand. The scorching sands of 1942 North Africa witnessed such a moment, a landscape of raw survival. This harsh, desolate stage was set for a confrontation that would truly test the human spirit. Against seemingly impossible odds, a glimmer of hope began to form, tenacious as desert flora. It was a testament to the inner fire, the sheer refusal to bow before the inevitable. And from that impossible situation, a fury of steel was ignited, a roaring defiance. This wasn't merely a battle, it was an eruption, a force that reshaped the desert's destiny. It would fundamentally alter the course of World War II, a pivotal shift in the global struggle. A promise that even the darkest hours could yield to courage, strategy, and unyielding will. We seek to understand how such a vast numerical disparity could ever be overcome in battle. This is the story of that turning point, where fate hung in the balance, then shifted forever. Join me now, as we journey into a time of epic drama and the highest, most desperate stakes. The world itself felt like it was holding its breath then, gripped by a terrible, relentless struggle. For the Allies, immense pressure, a relentless struggle against a rising, seemingly unstoppable tide. A dark cloud hung heavy over so many lands, threatening to engulf everything that was known. Across Europe, the fight was brutal, a desperate defense against an almost overwhelming force. Yet, beyond the heartland, the Empire's long arm reached, defending vital arteries of life. And there, in the quiet immensity of North Africa, another pivotal chapter was being written. This was no sideshow. This desert land held the vital keys to a much wider global struggle. The Suez Canal, that narrow water strip, a vital heartbeat linking east and west, was paramount. It was the Empire's lifeline, securing routes for essential resources, for people, for future. Beyond the canal, vast oil fields lay waiting, black gold absolutely essential for modern war. Fueling tanks, planes, the very machinery of war. Controlling it was a dire, urgent necessity. From this arid land, a path could be forged, an entryway into Europe's vulnerable, softer belly. Imagine, a way to alleviate the immense pressure elsewhere, a beacon of emerging hope. But then, a formidable shadow stretched across these sands, born of a seemingly unstoppable power. Field Marshal Rommel. His name then was whispered with a mix of awe and dread. They called him the Desert Fox, a testament to his uncanny tactical brilliance and speed. His Afrika Korps, a finely honed instrument of war, moved with astonishing efficiency. They seemed an almost mythical force, sweeping across the vast, open, unforgiving desert expanse. Rommel's maneuvers were bold, audacious, often catching his opponents completely by surprise. His legend grew with every victory, casting a long, demoralizing shadow over Allied morale. They had pushed deep, dangerously deep, into what was once considered Allied territory. The very heart of Egypt, that ancient land, was now hanging precariously in the balance. Cities like Alexandria and Cairo, teeming with life, faced an unimaginable impending threat. It felt as though the entire Allied North African position stood precariously, truly on the brink. A desperate stand was forming, a line of defiance against an almost overwhelming onslaught. The imbalance of power was stark, a harsh reality pressing down upon all their shoulders. Uncertainty clouded their planning. The path forward seemed obscured by insurmountable challenges. This was the stage, set for a drama of immense proportions, where hope felt scarce. A dire situation indeed, an echo of the global struggle playing out on these arid sands. Yet, even in the deepest shadows, the seeds of an eventual, formidable pushback lay waiting. The desert sun beat down, relentlessly. Our boys, tired to their very bones, had faced so much. Their uniforms told a story of hardship, of constant struggle. Resources were dwindling, hope a distant mirage. Every face held the weight of battles fought, victories hard won, and retreats often desperate. Supply lines stretched thin, a fragile thread across vast, unforgiving lands. Every drop of fuel precious. Equipment was scarce, repairs ingenious, born of necessity. Each piece of gear, a cherished, vital companion. From the west, the Axis tide surged, a relentless, overwhelming force. Their momentum seemed unstoppable. Our Commonwealth brothers, British, Australian, New Zealander, stood together. Their resolve, a quiet strength. These brave men, far from home, bore the brunt. They were the shield against the encroaching darkness. Each one, a son, a brother, a friend, fighting for something bigger than themselves, for freedom. And Indian troops, their bravery unwavering, contributed vital strength, a testament to shared sacrifice. South Africans, too, stood firm, their courage shining like a beacon, a tapestry of nations united. We had given ground, much ground, pushed back by an enemy whose relentless march felt unstoppable. The enemy's advance was like a desert storm, sweeping all before it. Their fury was immense. Beyond physical wounds, spirits were bruised. The long war's shadow fell heavily upon everyone's heart. But then, a flicker of hope, a whisper on the wind, a place, a line, where we could stand. El Alamein, a name that would soon echo through history, became our last desperate hope. To the south, nature's own fortress. The Katara Depression, impassable, a natural, forbidding barrier. To the north, the sparkling, ancient Mediterranean Sea, an endless, blue expanse protecting our flank. This narrow corridor, a choke point, offered a chance. Here, our fewer numbers could hold. It was the last defensible line, a place where sheer will might turn the desert's tide. Beyond this line, the ancient city of Alexandria lay exposed, a jewel waiting for defense. And the Suez Canal, a global lifeline, gateway to empires, hung precariously in the balance. This wasn't just a battle, but a final stand. There was no more ground left to yield. The gravity of our position, a heavy cloak, settled upon every soul. Failure was unthinkable here. The fate of North Africa, the Middle East, even the war itself, rested on these desert sands. With battered bodies and weary minds, they braced themselves. This desert would be their crucible. The storm was gathering, its thunder palpable. El Alamein waited, a silent, stark witness. In that vast, unforgiving expanse, a fragile seed of hope began to bloom. It had to. The stage was set, the lines drawn. The roar of battle would soon begin. This was it. And so, the world held its breath, waiting for the desert to speak its final profound truth. The desert winds whispered tales of an army stretched thin, pushing beyond limits. Hope was a fragile thing. Exhaustion etched deep lines on every face. Rommel's Afrika Korps, once formidable, now fought with fading light. Across the dusty wastes, the Allied line bent, but did not break. A desperate resolve hardened their weary souls. Alam Halfa, Rommel's final gamble, a furious thrust into the stubborn British defenses. The desert held its breath. Though repelled, the ferocity of that last push echoed. It was a stark, brutal reminder of what hung in the balance. In those quiet moments, a chilling truth settled. Holding on was no longer enough. The threat was immediate. A deeper understanding dawned then. To merely defend was to prolong the inevitable, to wait for doom. A new purpose began to stir, a quiet resolve blooming in the crucible of desperation. Something had to change. Then, a new spirit arrived. General Bernard Montgomery. Sharp eyes, a clear mind, a formidable presence. He brought a fresh wind, a decisive hand. No more wavering, only a singular, focused, unyielding purpose. Morale, like desert flowers after rain, began to tentatively bloom. A sense of direction finally returned. Under his watchful eye, scattered fragments began to knit together. Strength was found in careful, deliberate organization. Worn machines found new parts. Tired hands learned new skills. Rebuilding, brick by patient brick, had begun. The hum of preparation filled the air. This was no mere defense, but the genesis of something truly grand. An immense undertaking, gathering strength from distant lands. The desert waited, a silent canvas for destiny. Quietly, inexorably, the numbers shifted. Our strength grew, their lines thinned, a balance was turning. From across the vast ocean, the sinews of war arrived. Fresh steel, powerful engines, a promise of victory. Thousands of souls, thousands of machines converged. A mighty fist, slowly clenching, readying for impact. The mindset had fundamentally changed. No longer to hold, but to shatter their weary, overstretched strength. A grim determination settled upon every heart. The price would be high, but the alternative was unthinkable. And with it, fragile, tender shoots of hope began to grow. This was their moment for profound change. The stage was set. The desert wind whispered secrets of the coming storm. History awaited its decisive turn. The desert, a place of constant struggle, was about to meet a new kind of will. A pivotal shift was at hand. Into this crucible stepped a man of quiet resolve, General Montgomery. His vision was clear, unyielding. He promised them something profound. The days of endless retreat were over. A solemn vow. No more backward steps. This line, drawn in the sand, would be the final, sacred stand. His genius wasn't just courage, but a methodical mind, planning every detail with painstaking care. He believed not in just fighting, but in overwhelming force, in preparations so complete. Every man, every gun, every single shell would be accounted for. No detail was too small. A new spirit began to stir amongst the ranks. The air itself felt charged with change. Then, a trickle began, then a stream. Supplies started to flow, bringing quiet reassurance. Roads became arteries, pumping lifeblood into the arid land. The desert began to stir. Steel behemoths arrived, fresh from distant factories, each a promise of future strength. Artillery, silent and watchful, took its place, guardians ready to unleash their thunderous reply. Thousands of new faces, strong and determined, bolstered the ranks. A fresh energy arrived. Mountains of supplies grew daily, a visible testament to their unwavering commitment. Hope was palpable. Fuel, the very breath of modern warfare, piled high. The engines would not falter. The landscape itself was changing, transforming into an arsenal. A new strength emerged. The scale was staggering, a display of might previously unseen in this harsh land. Their true numerical superiority, now undeniable, was beginning to shift the very balance. The desert winds began to carry not just sand, but a whisper of victory, a promise. Perceptions were reversing. The seemingly endless Allied retreats had been replaced with resolve. But strength alone wasn't enough. They needed cunning, a masterpiece of misdirection. Operation Bertram, a grand illusion designed to blind the desert fox, Rommel himself. Dummy tanks appeared as if by magic, canvas and wood, but convincing from the air. Fake supply dumps sprung up, drawing enemy eyes to where nothing truly was. Imaginary movements created genuine dust trails, a ghost army maneuvering under the watchful moon. A false pipeline, stretching into nothingness, gave Rommel reason to question. So subtle. Even the sounds of bustling camps were faked. Echoes of phantom armies at their chores. Radio traffic, A carefully orchestrated symphony of misinformation filled the desert airwaves, and the real tanks, cloaked in plain sight, hidden beneath clever disguises, patiently awaiting the signal. Guns, capable of terrible destruction, lay dormant, camouflaged perfectly within the barren landscape. Rommel's eyes in the sky saw what they were meant to see, a tableau of carefully constructed lies. Each photo, each report, slowly building a distorted picture in the Axis command's mind. The timing, the location, the very intent of the coming assault remained perfectly hidden. Seeds of doubt, carefully planted, grew into a tangled thicket within the Desert Fox's mind. Meanwhile, the Axis forces, stretched thin and exhausted, watched with growing apprehension, dreading. Their resources were dwindling, a constant gnawing hunger in every camp, every fighting man. Exhaustion was a heavy cloak, draping itself over every soul. The spirit was fading. Supply lines, stretched to their breaking point, were fragile threads, constantly under enemy fire. But for the Allies, morale soared, fueled by the torrent of fresh men and countless machines. A collective resolve solidified, a deep-seated knowing that this finally was their moment. The desert held its breath, awaiting the thunder. The stage was set, the waiting nearly over. The vast desert, a silent witness for millennia, held its breath. A profound hush before the storm, a moment of fragile peace. In the cold embrace of trenches, young men clung to quiet thoughts, their hearts heavy with an unspoken dread. Look closely at their eyes. You'll see a quiet courage there, born of fear, yet stronger than any weapon. Then, a whisper on the wind, a tiny tremor beneath the earth, a premonition of the world's unraveling. Silent giants they stood, cloaked in darkness, ready to unleash a fury that would forever scar the land. Time, a relentless river, carried them toward destiny. Each tick of the watch, a solemn drumbeat to battle. A distant growl like the earth itself was stirring from a deep slumber, warning of the chaos to come. The chorus began, a low, guttural song of war, vibrating the very air, stealing one's breath. They braced, not against the enemy they saw, but the invisible, terrifying force about to be born. An unnatural dawn, a sickly glow, painted the eastern sky. The quiet world was holding its final breath. Then, a fiery whisper, arcing silently across the void. A messenger of destruction, graceful and terrifying. The world ripped open. A sound beyond hearing, a force beyond measure, shattering the desert's heart. Briefly, the night became day, revealing a landscape transformed, shattered by the raw power unleashed. Then more, 1,000 furious breaths exhaled, igniting the night sky with a terrifying, beautiful destruction. The roars merged, a monstrous symphony of steel and fire, drowning out thought, leaving only sensation. Dust ascended, a choking shroud, obscuring the gentle moon, transforming a quiet night into gritty hell. They covered their ears, but the sound was inside them, eyes wide, bearing witness to history's roar. The very earth rained down upon them, a violent baptism of dust and fear, forever changing innocence. Far off, blossoms of fire, terrible and bright, marked where lives were irrevocably altered or ended. Imagine, if you can, thousands of voices screaming in unison, tearing at the fabric of the silent night. The land itself convulsed, a wounded beast groaning under the unbearable weight of human fury. Across the unseen expanse, souls just like ours endured this same terrifying, relentless, devastating storm. The air, heavy with cordite's bitter scent, became a part of them. A memory burned deep inside. Then, a gasp of silence, brief and profound, the ringing in their ears louder than any thunder. But the respite was cruel, a false hope. The fury erupted anew, even more ravenous than before. Dawn bled into the chaos, a bruised light painting the inferno, revealing the horror with cold clarity. Smoke plumes, dark and heavy, rose to meet the morning sun, staining the sky with sorrow's shadow. In their dugouts, commanders listened, their silent prayers mingling with the desert's echoing roar. A strange duality, overwhelming dread, yet a steely resolve, solidifying deep within each weary soul. The drumbeat of destruction continued, a relentless pounding, shaping the very landscape and their destiny. From the dust they emerged, not heroes yet, but men stepping toward an uncertain, terrifying dawn. Steel beasts awoke, their engines a new growl, joining the chorus of violence, rolling towards fate. Into the choking smoke they walked, a silent, determined wave toward the terrifying, unknown abyss. The sun, a fiery eye, surveyed the ravaged land. A new day, born of terror, had finally arrived. The desert, once a silent canvas, now braced for a thunderous symphony of steel and fire, an unforgiving stage. Deep within those metal beasts, engines screamed, a primal roar echoing the fear in every soldier's heart. The advance began, a relentless tide of armor, churning the ancient sands into a turbulent, dusty sea. Flashes ripped the twilight apart, brief, terrifying glimpses into a hellish dance of destruction and despair. Each clang of steel, each distant explosion, painted a stark, brutal portrait of survival and sacrifice. Allied Shermans, sturdy and true, pressed forward, their crews holding onto every flickering sliver of hope. Beside them, Crusaders danced, swift and daring, a testament to courage in the face of daunting odds. Yet, across the barren wastes, the formidable panzers waited, iron predators with a deadly, unforgiving bite. Their crews, hardened by grim doctrines, prepared for battle, each gaze fixed on their grim, duty-bound task. Steel met steel in a deafening crescendo, a brutal dialogue spoken in the language of fire and thunder. Between the metal behemoths, men fought, living or dying by the whims of fate and a moment's luck. The desert floor became a graveyard of giants, each silent hulk a monument to forgotten dreams and valiant struggles. Amidst the chaos, simple acts of bravery shone bright, like faint stars in a world consumed by darkness. Desperate struggles unfolded, unseen by many, yet etched forever into the souls of those who witnessed them. Sheer terror gripped hearts, an icy hand, reminding them of the fragile line between life and oblivion. They fought for every inch, for positions barely visible, for a hope that flickered in dusty exhaustion. Kidney Ridge, a seemingly insignificant rise, became a crucible, demanding an unimaginable toll from both sides. The grind was relentless, a cruel master, wearing down body and spirit with its unending, brutal demands. In those brief lulls, silent bonds formed, forged in the heat of battle, a brotherhood born of shared hardship. The choking smoke and dust obscured all, a suffocating shroud over the desperate, bloody ballet of war. Rommel, the desert fox, watched his lines fray, his keen mind racing to stem the relentless surging tide. He scrambled to plug the gaping holes, a master craftsman frantically mending a shattered, fragile dam. Small units moved with desperate speed, trying to reinforce points, facing an overwhelming, ceaseless pressure. The Allied assault was a wave, immense and unyielding, threatening to engulf every defense in its path. His gaze was heavy, burdened by the immense weight of command, of defending an impossible position. Hope for one side meant despair for the other, a cruel, eternal truth etched into the desert sands. Then, a whisper of triumph became a roar. A thin crack began to spread across the Axis lines. The breakthrough, long-awaited, hard-earned, burst forth, a dam finally giving way under immense, tireless pressure. Through the breach poured the fury, Allied armor surging onward, their engines singing a triumphant, grim song. For Nazi Germany's forces, the realization dawned, stark and brutal. The line had finally, irrevocably broken. A desperate, disorganized retreat began, a scramble for survival across the unforgiving, vast, open desert. What remained was the debris of battle, shattered dreams, and the haunting silence that follows a great storm. The tide had truly turned, a monumental shift in fortune, etched forever into the relentless sun-baked earth. Though the sand would cover the scars, the echoes of this fury would forever whisper across those vast, empty spaces. The desert, once a stage for grand ambition, now whispered tales of retreat. A long, arduous journey began. Weariness clung like sand to every uniform, every soul. Hope, a fragile thing, had truly begun to fade. The landscape bore witness to shattered dreams, broken machines. The tide had turned, leaving devastation in its wake. Behind them, a relentless pursuit. Victorious allies tasting triumph gave no quarter, no moment of peace. Acute lack of fuel, of water, of spirit. Survival itself became a luxury, a distant mirage. Morale, a precious shield in battle, lay broken. Every step, a testament to profound, unending despair. The chase stretched across vast, unforgiving distances. Maintaining momentum was a silent, unceasing struggle. Logistical strains threatened even the victors. Yet, the will to push forward remained unyielding, fierce. Amidst the dust and heat, a quiet elation bloomed. A hard-won victory, a taste of hope returned. Rommel, a master of desert war, tried to draw new lines, but the momentum had shifted, irrevocably. Catastrophic destruction, silent monuments to a lost cause. The desert claimed its mechanical casualties. Vast numbers captured, their fighting spirit extinguished. For many, surrender brought an unexpected, quiet peace. The sheer scale of captured material spoke volumes. An army's strength, now a bounty for the foe. For many, the retreat became their last stand. A desperate flight, ending in capture or worse. North Africa, a crucible of war, slowly began to clear. A vast strategic prize was finally secured. From London to Washington, a wave of profound relief washed over the Allied world. In Berlin and Rome, a chilling dismay settled. The desert's truth was a bitter, undeniable pill. The commanders knew this wasn't merely a battle. It was a turning point. Hard won, deeply felt. Lost in the vastness, many simply vanished. The desert took its silent, unyielding toll. Even amidst victory, the cost was visible. A quiet reckoning, a profound testament to sacrifice. Each sunrise brought a new understanding. The land itself bore witness to human courage and folly, and in the quiet moments, thoughts turned to those left behind. Their memory, a guiding light. The desert sands kept their secrets, holding echoes of triumph and tragedy, a story forever etched. The desert winds whisper stories now, tales of dust and courage, a turning point etched forever. Here, the shifting sands witnessed a profound change. Hope began to stir, marking a true turning point. El Alamein, a name whispered, was more than just battle's end. It truly marked a new beginning. Winston Churchill, with his booming voice, captured its essence perfectly, a truth etched in time. Before Alamein, we never had a victory. After Alamein, we never had a defeat. A powerful, resonant truth. These words carried immense weight, not just rhetoric, but a truth deeply felt by weary hearts. At its heart, El Alamein was safeguarding a vital artery, the ancient Suez Canal, lifeline of nations. Its protection meant secure shipping lanes, ensuring crucial supplies reached Allied forces across the world. This narrow water ribbon was a gate, not just to the east, but to the world's power balance. Imagine the vast ocean, a chessboard. Control of the sea was paramount, truly life-giving for all. Every convoy, every ton of supplies, strengthened Allied resolve. Hope grew stronger, day by day. El Alamein freed vital routes, allowing the Allied logistical machine to truly breathe and push forward. And then, the door opened. El Alamein cleared the path for Operation Torch, a grand, bold move. Allied forces landed in French North Africa. A new front emerged, catching many by absolute surprise. This desert-born pincer now threatened to squeeze Axis forces from an entire continent. A grand strategy. From North Africa, the gaze turned north, across the sea, towards beleaguered Italy's heart. El Alamein created the strategic springboard for future invasions, reshaping the entire Mediterranean war. The victory sent ripples of joy and hope across the globe, a much-needed psychological balm. For weary nations, It was a tangible sign that the long, dark shadow might finally recede. Rommel, the desert fox, once seemed invincible. El Alamein stripped away that aura forever. The legend of the unconquerable was broken, proving that even the most feared could be beaten. Western allies proved their mettle, decisively defeating Nazi Germany's army. A major land battle won. Yet beneath triumph lies quiet sacrifice, countless lives given. We must never, ever forget them. The dust has settled now, but the echoes of El Alamein, they still whisper across the sands. This wasn't just a battle. It was where the very tide of war so cruel began to turn. 60,000 against 200,000. Such odds, they seemed insurmountable, a whisper against a roar. Yet, in that furnace of despair, human spirit, raw and unyielding, carved out a path, and strategy, a brilliant mind's delicate dance, guided those weary souls through the chaos. The cost, my friends, was immense. A sacrifice, paid in lives, echoing through generations. Its profound impact rippled through the war's veins, changing destinies, shaping the world. It's a testament, a stark, beautiful lesson in courage against all that seemed lost. These stories, they remind us what humanity is capable of in its darkest hours. If this tale of desert fury and impossible odds gripped your heart, then consider this. Hit that like button and subscribe for more epic historical battles, always unfolding here. Tell us in the comments, what other underdog stories from history amaze your spirit? There are countless untold narratives, vast oceans of history waiting patiently to be explored. Until next time, keep seeking those profound moments where human spirit truly shines brightest.